thank you so much, Miss Asma Khan, for joining me today. It's truly an honor. Seriously, I couldn't sleep last night just thinking I'd be speaking with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I'll start with the question. So your new book is entitled Ammu. Can you tell us why you chose this title and why is it important to you?
The book is a dedication to my mother. I call her Ammu. In South Asia, in Muslim families, Ammu is the common word used for mother. I think it's a combination of the more common Indian word Amma and which is used in the Middle East. It's a combination of that as Ammu. And I wanted to always talk about this very special relationship. It is 100 recipes divided into 5 decades of my life. But Ammu is the main character throughout, where I do talk about the stories linked to the dishes, but also who she was, how she influenced me. And there are lots of really interesting recipes. This is really, really family food. This is not food to impress, it is food to heal and nourish.
That's fantastic. And there are more than 100 recipes in the book. Do you have particular favorites or signature dishes? And if so, what are they?
I think all the fish dishes that I have got, I'm very excited about because I think that a lot of people don't feel intimidated making Indian, what they call fish curry. And, you know, these are fish used in different ways, you know, fried in kebabs or made with onions, simple things, but, you know, really tasty because people's diets are changing. People are tending to eat more fish. And instead of just steaming it, these gives you lots of alternatives. So I'm excited about all the fish dishes, including steaming fish, you know, which steamed fish can be very boring. Here, you know, you add a lot of masala and you've got a little bit chilies and it's really nice. And the biryani, because the biryani is a very emotional dish for me. It's also a dish that is very hard to write a recipe for because the biryani I make, the lamb biryani in my restaurant, it's 100 people. I don't know how to make it for less. Most people only know how to make these large. This is a very family style, small quantity, which you can make in a simple kitchen. Even if you don't have huge amounts of ingredients, you just need one big pot and that's it. And everybody has a pot, you know, decent sized pot with a lid. So biryani, this is a very kind of inclusive biryani, which everyone can make. So I'm quite excited about that recipe.
Just staying with the topic of the biryani, you know, it's like one of your most sought after dishes. And you've famously described it in one of your interviews, the aroma of the biryani as the smell of the history of the spice trade. Can you tell us a bit more about the art of making biryani?
Biryani is fascinating because biryani is a dish that was originated in India. Around the Mughal time, there's always a dispute when but very closely, very strong Central Asian, Middle Eastern, even Turkish influence in this dish. And this captures the heritage of a lot of Indian cuisine and style of cooking. And it is very important for people to recognize the contribution of other cultures. You may not like them, but you cannot take away that contribution to your cuisine. Even the samosa came from the Lebanese sailors. It is chronicled in a text where the Sultan of Delhi, I think they were more like pirates than sailors, but they were caught and brought to and they presented the samosa. And that is the first time the samosa, every kind of naan, bread, kebabs, all of these are the origins are, you know, outside influence. And even the dish of aloo gobi matar, completely we are dependent and we are grateful for the fact that the potatoes were bought by the Portuguese and the British, and cauliflower was got to India in 1930s. That is really recent. So your food is fascinating, and it should also make us less arrogant about, you know, our right to call ourselves who we are, because we are what we are because of the contributions of others who may no longer be there. Their descendants are still there. We must embrace all of this. Biryani is really about the spice trade, about a different time when people mingled and they learned from each other. And that is what this beautiful dish is about.
Gosh, it's wonderful. Actually, it's one of my favorite dishes, but inshallah, I'll be able to try your biryani one day. And
Inshallah.
inshallah. You touched on, like, this book is about the comfort and healing. What is your definition of comfort food, and what would be yours and why?
I think for most people, comfort food is the food that has childhood memories, or has memories of someone who, was important in your life and contributed to your life. And it is that time when you had no responsibility. This is my definition of comfort food. It's the food you ate when you felt free, when you didn't have the burden of life and challenges and difficulties. You didn't have problems with self-image. You didn't have problems with your Instagram post not looking good, and that you didn't perform as well as others, that you don't value yourself. Comfort food is that time, a more uncomplicated time. And of course, people my age, I'm 52, didn't live under the spotlight of social media. So that is a lot easier. But I still think comfort food for those, unfortunately, who are living in this glare of constant comparison, it is still an uncomplicated time. Although you see very young children now being very badly affected, having mental health issues over body images, over what they're doing in their lives, what their friends are doing, and bullying, and feeling unwanted, not fitting in. So it's become even more important because that time of freedom is no longer there. Find that comfort food. Imagine that time when you were so free that all you enjoyed was this food and it gave you happiness. Such an easy thing. You can recreate it. You can't change everything around you, but by making a dish, you can change your mindset. It's very important. And the first chapter is really all about childhood comfort food. If you get the book, please cook from that. Every time you feel down, pick it up and make something. It's very easy, it's very fast. It will heal you.
I will indeed, inshallah. I have the book, and I love the pictures inside as well, because as a reader, you feel that you're there, and you're guiding us. So it's really inspirational, mashallah.
Thank you. I wanted to have that conversation because when you are taking a book in my mother's name, then I want you to feel that you've also got part of me in that book, that I am there in your kitchen. And I'm so glad you felt that, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to describe everything in a very personal way, opening my heart and telling you, this is what it is, this is what is happening. Because food is about emotions.
Absolutely, it is. And just going on to the next bit, what is the message that you want to present to people through your food?
I think the most important thing for me is tolerance and equality. As an immigrant, I've said this many times, you cannot take my food and not take me. You cannot have a conversation about other things and ignore my cultural, religious, ethnic identity. The color of my skin should not dictate what you think of me. And food is very important way of me telling you who I am. It is part of all our DNA. It is so deeply absolutely in our souls. And I think that this is what I want my food to be. I want food to be a bridge between me and my host community. This, as an immigrant, I also want this to be a language of love and communication between me and my guest, irrespective of their background, who they are. It is a way of communicating, because you remember that person, you then remember the food. The problem is, what happens too often is culture and food are separated. If you just look at America, everyone wants to have tacos. They don't want the Mexicans. They build walls. You can't take someone's food and disrespect them. The food comes with the person and a heritage and a culture and stories. So this is what I want my food to communicate. This is what Ammu is also about. By taking you into the wind through this book, into my family life, I am also trying to tell you who I am, people who look like me. This is the story of all our families. I want you to know, I want you to feel less fearful. I don't want you to hate. That's the thing. If you understand someone, you're less likely to hate them. It is ignorance that breeds hatred and xenophobia, and I might add, wars.
Yes. And speaking of heritage, Kolkata has left an indelible impact on you. What is it about this city that has left such a huge legacy in you, including that feeling of pride for your heritage and for being an Indian Muslim?
Calcutta, in the times that I was growing up, in the 70s and 80s, was a time when no one asked you who you were. They didn't want to know what your faith was. They didn't want to know who your father was. It was an extremely egalitarian, open city where everybody treated you equally. That is no longer the case now. And in the rest of India, things are changing very rapidly. I never felt uncomfortable giving my name out anywhere in Bengal or in Calcutta. I felt huge pride of who I was. And I was always treated like one of everybody else. And that city also is a city where so many influences are there. Portuguese, Persian, Jewish, Armenian, British. Anglo-Indian food, which you see, I've written a couple of recipes. Anglo-Indian food is a big thing in Calcutta. And no one tried to say, they're not part of us, you no longer belong, go back to some other country, you are not part. This never happened in Calcutta, ever. We have embraced them. We have kept the synagogues in perfect condition. We have kept the Armenian church in perfect condition. We pray on the streets on Jummah. People celebrate all the festivals together. There isn't that feeling of us and them. And food is always eaten together. I went to see Afghans. They've always had Afghans in Calcutta because of the port, coming in to trade dried fruits, having tea and paratha. This is a memory from my childhood. They all gather together in their full Pathan suits with the turbans. Calcutta is that kind of city where you sit on this roadside on little pieces of brick or little stools, and people gather regularly to have tea with old friends. It's a city that lives for food. It is the food capital of India for sure.
Gosh, amazing. It just sounds like, when you read about it in books, when you see videos, it's just so alive and bustling. You are a champion of women's rights and you have a passion for underappreciated women. Can you tell us why these are really important to you?
It is very important for all women to feel this, that if you are in any way stronger and you are in a position of strength, you have a duty to lift others around you, other women. I'm very conscious, because of the opportunity with Netflix. Also, I have this opportunity to talk to you, through you, your audience. I am aware that I have an opportunity to be on stage. And I raise these issues because when I am on stage, when I look down, I see rows and rows of women in the darkness who will never get their chance to come on stage and say their lines. And now I have the spotlight on me. I must talk about them. I have to amplify the voices that will not get on stage. This is why I always talk about this. It is something I feel very passionately about. More than anything else, more than food, more than anything else, it is the status of women. It is the attitude towards women, which I am surprised at. I am from the East and I am from the West. You hear this in my accented voice. In the East, it is far more open. Discrimination, the misogyny is very open against women. In the West, it's very sly, it's covert. It also targets disproportionately with particular kinds of women. All the issues over hijab, all the issues about how much was a woman drinking, the safety of women. A woman is not safe walking on the streets. Why was she there? The attitude that you feel that you will not be believed. And this is even in college campuses. You have issues where young girls no longer feel safe. So this whole sense of not feeling safe, how is it that we are an equal society? We call ourselves a democratic, progressive society, when so many of us do not feel equal. And I have to say this, not paid equally. The International Women's Day recently raised this, highlighted this issue. There's at least a 30% discrepancy between how men and women are paid. And there's also no data on how women of color are paid. So this is even more problematic. So there are lots of issues. And everybody has a responsibility. No one should be a spokesman for this or be the one who everyone looks at to talk about these issues. We all need to address this in our own spaces, workplace, at home, with your neighbors, in your families.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, I really wish that I will meet you one day in real life, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you.